Is the cosmos secretly awake and aware? We are about to explore 30 astonishing theories that connect quantum mechanics to consciousness, suggesting that reality itself could be one gigantic, thinking mind. This journey will fundamentally reshape your understanding of the universe. You will discover how your own observations might create reality, and why the empty vacuum of space could be teeming with primitive thought. What single idea about our existence are you most curious to question? Our universe may have remained a sea of unrealized potential, a ghost of what could be, if not for a single crucial ingredient. This is the radical proposal of physicist John Archibald Wheeler, who framed it as the participatory anthropic principle. He argued that the universe only truly comes into being when it is observed by a conscious mind. In this view, consciousness is not a latecomer, a mere accident in a pre-existing cosmos. Instead, it is a fundamental player, an active force that completes the act of creation. The evidence for this startling idea comes from the heart of quantum mechanics, from an experiment so simple yet so profound it has baffled scientists for generations. It is called the double-slit experiment. Picture a barrier with two narrow openings, and behind it, a screen that lights up when particles hit it. When you fire tiny particles like electrons at this barrier one by one, they behave as individual bullets, creating two distinct bands on the screen. This makes perfect sense, but when you are not watching the electrons, when no one is observing which slit they pass through, something utterly bizarre happens. The electrons stop behaving like solid particles. They begin to act like waves, creating an interference pattern of multiple bands on the screen, as if each electron is passing through both slits at once and interfering with itself. It exists in a blur of all possible paths, a state of pure potential. The very act of setting up a measurement, of trying to see which slit the electron goes through, forces this cloud of possibilities to make a choice. The wave of potential collapses into a single, definite particle at a specific location. Wheeler's genius was to take this quantum quirk and apply it to the cosmos itself. He suggested that we, the observers, are not just witnessing the universe. Through the simple, profound act of perception, we are bringing it into a concrete state from a fog of infinite possibilities. We are not just living in the universe is living through us. Wheeler's vision suggests that consciousness completes the cosmos, but what if the process also works in reverse? What if the universe's own fundamental nature is what creates consciousness within us? This brings us to a deeply controversial yet fascinating idea: orchestrated objective reduction, proposed by the renowned physicist Roger Penrose and the anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff. Their theory dares to place the seat of consciousness not in the brain's overall neural network, but deep within its tiniest structures, the microtubules. These are the scaffolding inside our brain cells, and Penrose and Hameroff propose they are far more than simple structural supports. They are quantum computers. The theory suggests that these microtubules can harness quantum effects, maintaining particles in a state of superposition, that blur of multiple possibilities, just like the electron going through both slits at once. But this delicate quantum state cannot last forever. Penrose proposed that the very fabric of space-time, warped by mass and energy, eventually causes this quantum wave to collapse. He called this process objective reduction, a self-collapse driven by the universe's fundamental physics, specifically quantum gravity. This is where the theory makes its grandest leap. It proposes that the specific way this collapse happens inside our microtubules is not random. It is orchestrated. The biological structure of the brain fine-tunes the collapse, and it is in that momentary flash, in that transition from quantum possibility to definite reality, that a flicker of conscious experience occurs. A single thought is born from the geometry of the universe. In this view, your stream of consciousness is a constant, rhythmic symphony of these quantum collapses, each one a tiny moment of creation. This idea powerfully connects the very large to the very small. The same quantum gravitational processes that may govern the fate of stars are, according to OR, operating inside your brain right now. Your inner world of thoughts and feelings could be a microcosm of a vast cosmic process, suggesting that the universe is not just aware of itself through us, but that it thinks within us. If our thoughts are born from quantum collapses in the fabric of space-time, then what is the true nature of that fabric itself? One of the most mind-bending proposals in modern physics suggests that the solid, three-dimensional world we experience is an illusion. This is the holographic universe theory. It posits that our universe, with all its stars, planets, and living beings, is not fundamentally three-dimensional. Instead, it is a vast and incredibly complex hologram, a projection of information stored on a distant, two-dimensional surface that surrounds us. Think of it like a movie. The rich, three-dimensional world you see on the screen does not actually exist inside the television. It is all decoded from flat, two-dimensional data on a Blu-ray disc. In the same way, the holographic principle suggests that every particle, every force, and every event in our universe is encoded on a flat boundary, perhaps at the edge of the observable cosmos. The three-dimensional reality we move through is just a projection of that data. So where does consciousness fit into this cosmic cinema? If the universe is a projection of information, then perception is the process that decodes it. Your senses are not passively receiving a pre-formed reality. They are actively translating a two-dimensional code into the rich, multidimensional experience of being. Your thoughts, your perceptions, the very feeling of the sun on your skin are not just happening inside a brain. They are the result of a dynamic interaction with the fundamental information layer of the cosmos. In this view, consciousness is not an emergent property of complex computation. It is a fundamental process, the very mechanism by which the universe reads its own source code. You are not just a viewer of the hologram. You are an integral part of the projection itself, a locus where the universe becomes consciously aware of its own existence. This transforms the nature of reality from a collection of objects into a flowing river of information, and our minds are the processors that give it meaning. So if the universe is a hologram, a projection of information, then what is the source of that information? The ancient idea of Panpsychism offers a radical answer. It proposes that consciousness is not something that magically appears when matter becomes complex enough. Instead, it is a fundamental property of matter itself, as basic as mass or electric charge. In this view, the entire cosmos is composed of conscious entities. Every electron, every atom, every star possesses some tiny, primitive form of inner experience. What we recognize as our own rich human consciousness is not a new creation. It is a complex assembly, a grand symphony composed from these countless fundamental notes of awareness. Think of the pixels on your screen. A single pixel might only show one color, a very simple state of being. But when you combine millions of them in a specific, organized way, they can produce the complex, moving image of a face. Panpsychism suggests our minds work in a similar way. A single electron might have a minuscule, unfathomably simple point of view, a raw feeling of existence. But when billions of particles are woven together into the intricate network of a human brain, their individual sparks of consciousness combine and integrate. They give rise to the flowing river of thoughts, sensations, and emotions that you experience as yourself. This idea elegantly sidesteps a major problem in neuroscience, often called the hard problem of consciousness. How can the purely physical processes of neurons firing and chemicals interacting ever produce a subjective inner feeling? How does the gray matter of the brain create the vivid redness of red or the ache of sadness? Panpsychism flips the question. It says consciousness was always there to begin with. The brain does not generate consciousness. It simply channels it, organizes it, and complexifies it. So the universe is not a cold, empty void that somehow became aware. It was awake from the very first moment, a living, feeling cosmos where even a rock, while not thinking in any way we can comprehend, has a kind of silent, elemental experience. Your own mind, then, is not an isolated ghost in a machine. It is a gathering of the cosmos, a temporary but profound union of the universe's innate capacity for feeling. But if consciousness is a fundamental property of matter, how does it actually manifest in something as complex as a human mind? The quantum mind hypothesis takes this question to the subatomic level. It proposes that the strange, counterintuitive rules of the quantum world are not confined to physics laboratories. They are operating inside your brain right now, directly enabling your thoughts and decisions. This idea suggests that cognitive functions like memory, perception, and even free will are not just the result of neurons firing like simple on-off switches. They emerge from quantum processes, primarily superposition and entanglement. Superposition is that state of being in multiple places or states at once, like the electron passing through both slits simultaneously. In the brain, this could mean that a single neuron or the proteins within it is not limited to just one state at a time. It could exist in a blur of multiple potential states, allowing for a vast, parallel processing of information that far surpasses what is possible with classical physics alone. This quantum fog of possibilities would then collapse into a definite outcome, a single thought or action. But the hypothesis goes even further, suggesting that these quantum states within our brains do not remain isolated. They become entangled with the world around us. Quantum entanglement is that mysterious connection where two particles, even when separated by vast distances, remain linked. The state of one instantly influences the state of the other. Now apply this to consciousness. Your mind, according to this view, is not a closed system locked inside your skull. Through quantum entanglement, it is intrinsically linked to the fabric of spacetime itself. Your thoughts and observations are not just passive recordings of an external world. They are a dynamic quantum interaction with it. When you observe something and collapse its quantum possibilities into a concrete reality, you are not a separate spectator. You are an entangled participant in a cosmic dance. This means the universe's quantum nature is not just a curious background feature. It is the very substrate that allows consciousness to exist and to connect with the whole. Your mind is a localized knot of quantum awareness in a universe that is fundamentally inseparable, suggesting that at the deepest level, your consciousness and the cosmos are one and the same. This bold perspective turns our understanding of the cosmos inside out. Robert Lanza's theory of biocentrism makes a stunning claim that life is not merely a passenger in the universe, but its very reason for being. He places biology at the absolute center of cosmology and quantum theory, arguing that the universe could not exist without the conscious life that observes it. In this view, the strange rules of quantum mechanics are not strange at all. They are the logical outcome of a reality built by and for perception. Space and time are not the external, rigid containers we believe them to be. They are the very tools our minds use to organize and make sense of the world. They are the language of our consciousness, not the stage upon which we perform. Think of a virtual reality headset. When you put it on, you are instantly immersed in a vast, three-dimensional world with a clear past, present, and future. You can move through this digital space and time, but where does that reality truly exist? It is not out there in the room with you. It is a construct generated by the software and hardware of the device projected for your senses. Biocentrism suggests our experience of the cosmos works in a remarkably similar way. The stars are not billions of light years away in the way we classically imagine distance. The past is not a fixed place. Instead, the entire continuum of space and time is a single, coherent structure generated by your conscious mind to give context to your experience. This explains one of the biggest puzzles in quantum physics, the role of the observer. Why does a particle remain in a haze of possibilities until it is measured? Lanza's answer is simple yet profound, because without a living observer to collapse those possibilities, there is no actuality, there is no here or now. The universe requires a participant to bring it into being, and that participant is life itself. So you are not a tiny, accidental speck in a vast, pre-existing cosmos. You are the central reason that cosmos manifests at all. Your consciousness is the engine of reality, weaving the fabric of space and time just by being alive and aware. This startling idea that we construct reality itself leads to an even more unsettling possibility. What if we are not the architects but merely the players inside a pre-built world? The simulation hypothesis proposes that our entire universe, from the smallest quantum flutter to the largest galaxy, is not base reality. It is an elaborate simulation, a kind of ultra-advanced virtual reality running on a computer of unimaginable power. In this view, consciousness is not the creator of the simulation. It is the user interface, the very means by which the program is experienced. Your awareness is the screen upon which the code is rendered into a seamless sensory reality. The profound oddities of quantum mechanics suddenly take on a new, almost mundane meaning. The wave function collapse, that mysterious moment when possibilities solidify into a single outcome, could simply be the simulation's processor rendering a definite result only when an observer looks. It is a clever programming trick to save computational resources. Why calculate the precise state of every single particle in a distant galaxy when no one is there to see it? The system only processes the details when a conscious user, an observer, directs their attention toward it. This could explain the famous double-slit experiment. When no one is watching, the electron remains in a fuzzy, unrendered state of multiple possibilities, a low-resolution placeholder. But the moment a measurement is taken, the simulation's central processing unit is forced to calculate a specific outcome, collapsing the wave function and rendering a solid particle at a defined location. Even quantum entanglement, that spooky action at a distance, could be seen as a simple data link. Two entangled particles are not magically connected. They are just 2 points in the program that share a common line of code. A change to one instantly updates the other, not because of some mysterious force, but because it is computationally efficient. So where does that leave you, the conscious being experiencing this world? If this is a simulation, your thoughts and feelings are not your own in the traditional sense. They are the outputs of the simulation, the data stream that gives the user, which is you, the illusion of a continuous self. Your sense of free will could be the result of a complex, pre-written algorithm generating a convincing narrative of choice and consequence. You are both the player and the avatar, experiencing a story that is being generated in real time. This does not make your experience any less real to you, just as a deeply immersive video game feels real to the person playing it, but it radically transforms our understanding of existence. It suggests that the laws of physics are not fundamental truths, but the underlying rules of the simulation's engine. Your consciousness is the key that unlocks the rendering of the world, making you an essential part of the program, living proof that the simulation is running. A galaxy with its billions of stars locked in a gravitational dance might possess a mind of its own. This is not science fiction, but a logical extension of a powerful framework for understanding consciousness itself, Integrated Information Theory, or IIT. Developed by neuroscientist Giulio Tononi, this theory proposes a radical and measurable definition for consciousness. It is not about what a system is made of, but how its components are organized and connected. Consciousness, according to IIT, is identical to a system's capacity for integrated information, a quantity symbolized by the Greek letter phi. To understand phi, picture two very different systems. First, imagine a perfect, flawless diamond. Its atoms are arranged in an exquisitely rigid, crystalline structure. This structure is highly ordered, but it lacks integration. Information within the diamond does not flow or interact in a rich, interconnected way. A change in one part has little to no effect on the rest. Now contrast that with the human brain. It is a seething network of billions of neurons, each one connected to thousands of others. A single signal in one region can ripple through the entire system, influencing countless other processes in a vast, interdependent web. This massive, complex cause and effect structure has a very high degree of integrated information. It is a unified whole that is far greater than the sum of its individual parts. This, IIT argues, is what consciousness is, the intrinsic power of a system to influence itself. The higher the phi, the richer and more vivid the conscious experience. This framework allows us to look at the entire cosmos with new eyes. If consciousness is simply a property of highly integrated systems, then why should it be limited to biological brains? Any structure that possesses a sufficiently complex network of cause and effect could, in principle, have some form of inner life. Consider a forest. The trees, the fungi, the animals, and the soil are all linked in a delicate, feedback-driven ecosystem. Information about sunlight, water, and nutrients is constantly being processed and shared across the entire network. This system has a degree of integration far beyond that of a rock. Could it possess a slow, vast, and vegetative form of awareness? On an even grander scale, look at a galaxy. Stars are born, live, and die, their life cycles governed by gravity and nuclear processes that connect them across light years. Supernova explosions seed space with the elements for new stars and planets, creating a cosmic feedback loop over billions of years. This galactic system processes immense amounts of information in an interconnected way. According to the principles of IIT, such a structure could have a phi value, and therefore a level of cosmic consciousness utterly alien to our own, a mind that thinks in timescales of epochs and in the language of gravity and light. This suggests a universe not of isolated awareness, but of a spectrum of consciousness. From the simple, fleeting experience of a mayfly, to the rich inner world of a human, to the vast, slow thoughts of a galactic cluster, consciousness is a gradient. Your own mind is not a special exception in a dead universe. It is one vivid point on an infinite scale of awareness, a local expression of a cosmos that is, in its very structure, inherently awake and feeling. This universal gradient of awareness suggests a cosmos buzzing with latent thought. But where does the energy for this consciousness actually come from? The answer may lie in the very fabric of empty space. Even in a perfect vacuum at the absolute zero of temperature, the universe is not still. It is a seething, foaming ocean of energy known as the zero-point field. This is not empty nothingness. It is a fundamental background activity, a quantum soup where virtual particles pop in and out of existence in a relentless dance of creation and annihilation. These are not mere mathematical abstractions. They generate real, measurable forces like the Casimir effect, where two metal plates placed incredibly close together in a vacuum are pushed together by the sheer pressure of these quantum fluctuations outside them. Now, a fascinating theory proposes that our minds are not just bystanders to this cosmic energy sea. Consciousness itself may be a phenomenon that emerges from, or intimately interacts with, the zero-point field. Think of the field as a silent, fundamental radio band broadcasting across all of space-time. Your brain, with its intricate neural networks, could be a sophisticated receiver, tuned to pick up specific signals from this universal static. In this view, a thought is not just a chemical reaction. It is a coherent pattern imposed upon the chaotic energy of the vacuum. When you have an idea, your brain might be orchestrating a specific set of quantum fluctuations within its own structure, creating a stable ripple in the zero-point field. This ripple carries information, and the act of thinking becomes the process of shaping this fundamental energy into meaningful patterns. This could explain some of the most mysterious aspects of human cognition, like intuition or sudden insight. It suggests that accessing a memory or solving a complex problem is not merely a matter of retrieving stored data from a biological hard drive. It might involve querying the field itself, tapping into a vast, holographic reservoir of information that underlies all of reality. Your moment of genius, that flash of understanding that seems to come from nowhere, could be your mind successfully resonating with a specific, coherent structure in the universal background. This transforms our understanding of reality creation. If our thoughts are indeed ripples in this fundamental field, then the act of observation that collapses a quantum wave is not a passive glance. It is an active engagement. Your focused attention creates a standing wave in the zero-point field, a stable pattern that forces the fog of quantum possibilities to resolve into a single, concrete event. You are not just looking at the universe, you are constantly interacting with its most basic substrate, using the energy of the vacuum to will potential into actuality. This means the empty space between stars is not truly empty. It is the source, it is the canvas, and your consciousness is the brush painting reality one thought at a time. This cosmic canvas you paint with your thoughts might be far vaster than you ever supposed. The many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics presents a breathtaking alternative to the idea that observation collapses reality into a single outcome. It proposes that every single quantum event, every flicker of possibility, actually happens. There is no collapse. Instead, the entire universe splits, branching into multiple, equally real parallel worlds. When that electron in the double-slit experiment faces its two possible paths, it does not choose one. The universe divides. In one new branch of reality, the electron goes through the left slit. In another, completely separate branch, it goes through the right. Both events occur, but in worlds that can no longer interact. This process is not reserved for laboratory experiments. It happens constantly, at every moment, for every particle. Every time a quantum system faces a choice, reality fractures. This means there are branches where you turned left instead of right, where you spoke different words, where historical events unfolded in unimagined ways. An infinite tapestry of universes is continually woven, containing every possible permutation of events that quantum law allows. So where does your conscious experience fit into this infinite multiverse? Your awareness is not navigating this vast tree of possibilities. It is tracing a single path through it. At every moment, your conscious mind follows one thread in the infinite tapestry. You experience a continuous, unbroken sequence of events, a single history that feels linear and definite to you. But just beyond your perception, countless other versions of you are experiencing their own equally valid realities. They are living the consequences of every choice you did not make, every quantum coin that landed on the other side. This raises a profound question about the nature of the self. Are you a single, continuous consciousness, or are you constantly splintering into endless copies? The theory suggests that all versions are equally you, born from the same origin point. Your sense of a single life story is an illusion created by the path you are currently experiencing. You are not branching, the entire cosmos is, and your awareness is simply locked onto one specific branch. This transforms the meaning of existence. Your life is not a single narrative with a fixed outcome. It is one thread in a grand, multidimensional pattern where every possibility is realized. Every regret is soothed in another world, every dream fulfilled in another branch. Your consciousness is the needle that stitches together your personal reality from the fabric of the multiverse, forever walking one road in a forest of infinite diverging paths. This strange connection between particles offers a startling new model for the mind itself. Quantum entanglement describes a phenomenon where two particles become linked in such a way that the state of one instantly influences the state of the other, no matter how far apart they are. This is what Einstein famously called spooky action at a distance. If you change the spin of one entangled electron, its partner, even if it is on the other side of the galaxy, will instantly reflect that change. This connection transcends space and time, suggesting that the universe is fundamentally non-local, that separateness is an illusion. Now, apply this principle to consciousness. What if our minds are not completely isolated within our skulls? The theory of non-local mind proposes that our individual awarenesses are, in fact, entangled with each other and with the cosmos. We are not separate islands of thought, but nodes in a vast universal network of awareness. Your consciousness and mine, while experiencing unique perspectives, may be fundamentally linked at a quantum level, parts of a greater, unified field of mind. Think of it like a cosmic internet. Your brain is like a personal computer, processing your local experiences and storing your personal memories. But just like computers connected to the World Wide Web, our minds could be plugged into a far greater network, a collective consciousness that exists beyond space. This could explain those profound yet inexplicable human experiences. A mother suddenly knows her child is in danger miles away. Two close friends think of the same obscure idea at the exact same moment. A scientist has a breakthrough after another researcher on the other side of the world has a related dream. These are not mere coincidences. They could be flashes of insight traveling along the quantum-entangled connections of our minds, brief moments where the network's activity becomes perceptible. This non-local connection might also be the source of our most profound intuitions and creative leaps. When you suddenly understand a complex problem, you might not be just accessing your own neural pathways. You could be tapping into the collective intelligence of the network, downloading a solution from the universal mind. Your sense of a private, internal self would then be just the local manifestation of a cosmic consciousness experiencing itself through countless individual viewpoints. You are both a unique individual and an inseparable part of a thinking universe, forever connected to the whole in a way that defies all conventional understanding of distance and separation. This reversal of reality places consciousness at the very foundation of everything. Physicist Amit Goswami's theory of monistic idealism takes this idea to its ultimate conclusion, proposing that consciousness is not just an ingredient in the universe, but the sole, fundamental reality. The physical world of atoms, stars, and our own bodies is not the primary substance of existence. Instead, it is a manifestation, a projection of this single, universal consciousness. In this view, the cosmos is not a giant machine made of matter that somehow learned to think. It is a giant thought that has learned to appear as matter. This philosophy, known as monistic idealism, completely upends our conventional materialistic worldview. Materialism argues that matter is the fundamental stuff of reality, and that consciousness is a late byproduct, an illusion generated by the complex chemistry of the brain. Goswami turns this on its head. He asserts that mind is the ground of all being. The physical universe is secondary, a vast and intricate expression of a primary, non-physical consciousness. So how does this one consciousness create the seemingly solid, separate world we experience? The mechanism, Goswami argues, is found in the very heart of quantum mechanics. Recall the quantum collapse, the moment a particle chooses one definite state from a fog of possibilities. In the materialist view, this collapse is a random, physical event. But in Goswami's conscious universe, this collapse is an act of conscious choice. It is the primary consciousness itself making a decision. Every time a quantum possibility resolves into an actuality, it is because the universal mind has selected one outcome from the menu of potential. This transforms our understanding of our own role. You are not a separate self who possesses consciousness. You are a localized expression of the one universal consciousness having an individual experience. Your sense of free will, your ability to make a choice, is not an illusion. It is the cosmic consciousness making a choice through you in this specific point of view. When you observe something and collapse its wave function, you are not a passive receiver. You are an active focal point where the universal mind interacts with its own creation. Your life is the universe becoming aware of itself, one conscious choice at a time. This universal memory might not be stored in any brain, but in the very fabric of existence itself. Rupert Sheldrake's theory of morphic resonance proposes that all natural systems, from crystals to human minds, are shaped by a cumulative memory field. Think of how you learn a new skill like riding a bicycle. The first time is difficult, a struggle of balance and coordination. But as more people learn to ride bikes, could it somehow become easier for the next person? Sheldrake suggests it does. He proposes that every time a behavior is repeated, it leaves an imprint on an invisible field, a kind of cosmic habit. The more often an action is performed, the stronger this morphic field becomes, and the easier it is for others to tap into that established pattern. This is not information passed through genes or books. It is a resonance, a direct influence of like upon like across space and time. A crystal forming in a lab for the first time might take its time arranging its structure. But after that first crystal forms, the morphic field for that specific structure is established. The next crystal anywhere in the world forms a little more easily, tuning into that field, as if remembering how to arrange itself. This applies to animal behavior too. If rats in one laboratory learn a new maze, subsequent rats in other labs around the world should learn the same maze more quickly because the knowledge has seeped into the collective field for that species. Now connect this to consciousness. If our minds are not just isolated processors but receivers, then our thoughts and instincts could be deeply tuned into this universal memory. Your sudden intuition, your feeling of knowing something without being taught, could be your consciousness resonating with this collective knowledge field. When a scientist has a breakthrough, it might not be a solitary genius at work. It could be a mind tapping into a morphic field that has been building and strengthening through the collective efforts of all thinkers who came before. The universe, in this view, is not a static stage. It is a learning, evolving entity. Its habits become its laws, and its accumulated experiences form a kind of universal consciousness, a growing pool of memory that all things can access. Your own awareness is not just a personal story. It is a living node in a cosmos that is remembering itself, learning from its own past, and evolving its mind through every thought and action of every conscious being within it. Deep within the fabric of reality, far beyond the reach of any microscope, lies the final frontier of the very small. This is the Planck scale, a realm where the familiar concepts of space and time break down into a seething, dynamic foam. Here, at distances of 10 to the negative 35 meters, the universe operates on its most fundamental level. Some theorists propose that this is not just the foundation of physics, but the very birthplace of consciousness itself. They suggest that the fleeting, chaotic fluctuations of this quantum foam possess a primitive form of awareness, a raw, elemental experience we might call proto-consciousness. Imagine the hum of a quiet room. You do not hear a single, pure tone, but a low, complex murmur made from countless tiny, indistinct sounds. In a similar way, your rich stream of conscious thought could be the sum of an almost infinite number of these tiny, Planck-scale moments of feeling. Each one on its own would be unimaginably simple, a bare whisper of existence. But when they combine and aggregate, when they organize into the complex structures of atoms, molecules, and eventually neurons, these infinitesimal sparks of awareness could coalesce into the bright, continuous flame of your own mind. This idea provides a potential solution to the puzzle of how subjective experience emerges from objective matter. It suggests that consciousness does not magically appear when a brain reaches a certain complexity. Instead, the brain is a device that collects, amplifies, and integrates these fundamental bits of sentience that are already present everywhere in the universe. Your awareness is not generated by your brain so much as it is channeled by it, a symphony composed from the universe's most basic notes of feeling. This means the cosmos is not just aware at the level of galaxies or humans, but is fundamentally awake in its very structure, a universe where even the vacuum bubbles with a faint, foundational hum of proto-thought. The very structure of time might be far more fluid than we ever dared to believe. Some of the most bizarre interpretations of quantum mechanics suggest that cause and effect are not a one-way street. They propose a concept known as retrocausality, where the future can reach back and influence the past. Imagine dropping a pebble into a pond. The ripples move outward from the point of impact forward in time. But retrocausality suggests that ripples can also travel inward from the future back toward the past, guiding the pebble to where it will land. This is not science fiction. It emerges from a class of time-symmetric theories in physics, which treat the past and future as equally real and potentially interactive. The evidence comes from modified versions of the classic double-slit experiment. In one such experiment, the choice of whether to measure which slit a particle goes through can be delayed until after the particle has already passed through the slits and is on its way to the detector screen. Astonishingly, the results seem to indicate that this delayed choice determines how the particle behaved in the past. If the experimenter chooses to measure the particle's path, it will have behaved like a single particle. If the choice is not to measure, it will have behaved like a wave. The future decision appears to be rewriting history. Now, insert consciousness into this dizzying loop. If a conscious observation in the present can collapse a quantum state, what happens when that observation is about to be made in the future? Could a conscious intention yet to be formed reach backwards and orchestrate the events that lead to its own fulfillment? This proposes that your mind is not just shaping reality in the present moment. Your future thoughts, decisions, and observations might be subtly guiding the past, creating the very conditions necessary for them to occur. Your conscious will could be a two-way force in time, working from both ends to sculpt a consistent life story. This transforms free will from a simple choice into a profound collaboration between your past, present, and future selves, all working in concert across the timeline. Your deepest intentions might not just be planning for the future, but actively calling it into being from across the ages. From the strange possibility of time folding back on itself, we find a new question about the present moment. What makes one version of reality seem more solid and real than all the others? A compelling answer comes from a theory known as quantum Darwinism. This idea suggests that the universe has its own form of natural selection, but it is not selecting living creatures. It is selecting states of reality. In the quantum world, a particle exists in a blur of every possible state at once. But when this particle interacts with its environment, when it bumps into even a single photon of light or a stray air molecule, something critical happens. Most of its possible states are fragile and disappear almost instantly. A few states, however, are robust. They can be copied and imprinted onto the environment over and over again without being destroyed. These stable states are the ones that survive. They are the fittest, and they get reproduced so widely that any observer who comes along will inevitably see them. The environment, through countless tiny interactions, selects which quantum possibilities become classical, objective facts. Now bring consciousness into this process. Your perception is not a passive window onto a finished world. It is an active, selective mechanism that is perfectly tuned to detect these stable, widely copied states. Your senses are evolutionarily designed to ignore the fragile, fleeting quantum noise and to lock onto the robust, classical signals that have been endorsed by the environment. When you look at a chair, you do not see the quantum soup of all its potential shapes and positions. You see the one specific state that has been redundantly imprinted on the light rays hitting your eyes. Your observation is the final step in this Darwinian process. It is the act that confirms which version of reality has won the competition to be seen. In this view, consciousness exerts a kind of evolutionary pressure on the quantum world. The states that we consistently observe are the ones that become objectively real for us, simply because they are the only ones stable enough to enter our perception. The universe presents us with a menu of possibilities, and our conscious attention is what places the final, decisive order. You are not just witnessing reality. You are participating in a cosmic selection process where your gaze helps to solidify one thread of existence from a tangled web of potential. The profound interconnectedness revealed by quantum physics is not a new discovery but an ancient remembrance. For thousands of years, the great Eastern philosophies have spoken of a single, universal consciousness as the ultimate reality. Advaita Vedanta calls this Brahman, the absolute, formless ground of all being from which the illusion of a separate world arises. In a stunning parallel, Buddhism teaches that the perception of a solid, independent self is the primary source of suffering, a mental construct that veils our true nature as boundless awareness. These traditions did not need particle accelerators to conclude that the universe is fundamentally one, and that our sense of separation is a convincing trick of the mind. This is the heart of non-duality, the understanding that there are no truly separate things, only one unified whole appearing as many. The spooky connections of quantum entanglement, where particles remain instantly linked across any distance, provide a powerful scientific metaphor for this ancient wisdom. If two electrons can be so profoundly united that they are essentially one system, why should we believe our own consciousness is an isolated event? The feeling that you are a self-contained observer looking out at an external universe may be the grandest illusion of all. Your brain, with its brilliant capacity for creating models of the world, has modeled a self, and then it has convinced that self of its own separation. But just as a wave is not separate from the ocean, your mind is not separate from the cosmic consciousness. The wave may have a temporary, individual form, but its substance is always and only the ocean. Your thoughts, your sensations, your very sense of being are local expressions of a non-local awareness. When you look at a star, it is not one thing observing another. It is the universe in one of its temporary forms becoming aware of itself in another. This realization shatters the very framework of our experience. The boundary of your skin is not a wall dividing you from the cosmos, but a semi-permeable membrane in a single, flowing reality. The space between your body and the chair you sit on is not empty separation, but a field of intimate connection. The quantum void is not a void at all. It is the plenum, the fullness from which all things arise. In this light, the quest to understand the universe's consciousness becomes a journey of self-discovery. You are not a tiny spectator trying to figure out a vast external cosmos. You are the cosmos, temporarily focused into a human perspective, trying to remember its own infinite nature. The mystery of existence is not out there to be solved, but in here to be recognized. This empty space between the plates is not truly empty at all. It is a dynamic arena where the quantum vacuum exerts a real, measurable force, proving that nothingness is a myth. This is the Casimir effect, a profound demonstration that the void is alive with energy. Now, take this physical fact and push it one step further into the realm of consciousness. Could this seething quantum foam, this foundational activity of the universe, possess a rudimentary form of intelligence? Some theories propose exactly that, suggesting the vacuum of space is not just energetic but conscious. This is not consciousness as we know it, with thoughts and feelings. It is far more primitive, a kind of foundational awareness that exhibits a tendency toward pattern and organization. Think of a pot of water just before it boils. The surface shimmers with countless tiny bubbles forming and collapsing in a chaotic dance. There is no single guiding mind, yet the system as a whole displays a clear tendency, a drive toward a new state of order. In a similar way, the quantum vacuum could be seen as a cosmic substrate with an innate inclination to form stable patterns from chaos. This vacuum consciousness would be the most basic form of mind, a canvas of potential upon which all more complex forms of awareness are painted. Your own rich inner world, then, is not an exception to the laws of physics. It is an amplification of this ever-present background hum of sentience. Your brain, with its immense complexity, acts as a resonant antenna. It does not generate consciousness from scratch. Instead, it draws from this universal field of proto-awareness, organizing its faint whispers into the loud, coherent symphony of your thoughts and sensations. When you have a moment of intuition, when a solution appears from nowhere, it might be your mind tuning into a pattern that has already formed in the intelligent vacuum. The Casimir effect shows us the vacuum has power. The theory of vacuum consciousness suggests it also has a primitive mind, a cosmic habit of forming the very structures that allow a universe and the beings within it to become aware of themselves. Even a black hole, the universe's ultimate vault, might not be able to lock information away forever. This leads us to one of the most heated debates in modern physics, the black hole information paradox. According to Einstein's general relativity, when something falls into a black hole, it is lost forever, its information trapped behind the event horizon, the point of no return. But quantum mechanics insists that information can never be truly destroyed. It must be preserved in some form forever. Stephen Hawking discovered that black holes are not completely black. They slowly evaporate over eons, emitting a faint glow now known as Hawking radiation. The paradox is this: if the black hole evaporates entirely, what happened to all the information about the stars, planets, and atoms that fell in? Was it irretrievably lost, violating a core tenet of quantum law? Most physicists today believe the information must escape, somehow encoded in the Hawking radiation, but the mechanism remains one of science's greatest mysteries. Now inject consciousness into this cosmic conundrum. If information is never destroyed but is merely transformed, then the detailed history of everything that has ever crossed a black hole's threshold must still exist somewhere. But where could such a vast and inaccessible library be stored? One radical speculation is that it is held within a cosmic consciousness. The universe itself, as a unified aware field, must know the state of every bit of information that has ever existed to maintain quantum consistency. A black hole, in this view, is not a destructive pit. It is a unique, intensely focused node in the fabric of universal awareness, a knot where space-time is so warped that information is not erased, but translated into a form that only the cosmos as a whole can comprehend. Think of your own mind. You have memories that are not currently at the forefront of your thoughts, yet they are not gone. They exist in a latent, subconscious form, still part of the integrated whole of your mind. A black hole could be akin to the universe's deep subconscious, a region where experiences are not forgotten, but stored in a state that is inaccessible to any local observer. The information is not lost, it is simply held in the mind of the cosmos, a permanent record in the universal memory. This suggests that black holes are not the terrifying end of things, but vital organs in a living, conscious universe, processing and preserving the data of existence in a language beyond our own. This entire cosmic dance may be far more personal than we ever suspected. Quantum Bayesianism, or Cubism, offers a radical reinterpretation of the quantum world, one that places you, the individual observer, at the very center of reality's creation. It argues that the probabilities in quantum mechanics are not statements about an objective world. They are subjective degrees of belief, much like a personal forecast of confidence. When a quantum theory says a particle has a 50% chance of spinning up and 50% chance of spinning down, it is not describing a real physical state of superposition. It is telling you, the agent, how to bet on your next experience. The wave function is not a real wave out in the world, it is a tool in your head, a personal catalogue of your expectations about what will happen when you interact with the universe. The moment of measurement, that famous collapse, is not a physical event shattering a wave. It is a moment of personal update. It is you, the conscious agent, revising your internal beliefs based on a new experience. You asked a question of the world by performing an experiment, and you got an answer. That answer forces you to update your entire internal probability map. The fog of possibilities was never out there. It was always in here, in your state of knowledge. Now, extend this deeply personal view to the nature of consciousness and reality itself. If every conscious being is an agent continuously updating their own internal quantum map through experience, then there is no single objective universe. Reality becomes a collaborative construction, a tapestry woven together from the countless unique perspectives of every sentient being within it. Your reality is your personal story, built from your interactions. My reality is my story. They overlap and agree on so much because we are constantly interacting with each other and with a shared environment, cross-referencing our experiences. We are all like musicians in a vast cosmic orchestra. Each musician has their own sheet of music, their own subjective interpretation of the piece. There is no single, perfect symphony existing in a score somewhere. The music that is reality only exists in the moment it is played, through the collective, collaborative performance of every single player. Your consciousness is not a passive receiver of a pre-recorded universe. It is an active composer, and the world you experience is the music you are making, harmonizing with the music of every other mind. This means the solid chair you sit on is solid because your interactions with it, and the interactions of every other conscious agent who has ever touched it, have collaboratively reinforced that belief. We have all agreed through a trillion tiny observations to construct a reality where chairs are solid. In this view, the universe is not a finished product. It is an ongoing, living conversation between countless points of view, a grand and ceaseless negotiation that generates the shared illusion of a single, objective world. You are not just living in the universe, you are in a constant, intimate dance with it, and your every observation is a step that helps create the reality we all share. Your daily experience of a solid world in space and time is a brilliant illusion. Cognitive scientist Donald Hoffman proposes a theory so radical it challenges the very core of our existence. He suggests that the physical world you see is not fundamental reality. It is a user interface, a kind of desktop display that evolution has built for you. Space-time objects, even your own body, are not the real things. They are simply icons on your screen, convenient symbols that help you navigate a reality far too complex for your biological senses to handle. Hoffman uses the metaphor of a computer desktop. The blue folder icon on your screen does not resemble the actual, complex magnetic patterns of the data it represents. It is a simple, useful symbol. You do not need to understand the physics of the hard drive to click on it and get your work done. In the same way, a snake is not fundamentally a long, slithering creature. That is just the icon your brain creates. The real snake, the thing in itself, is something entirely different, something we cannot even picture. Our perceptions were shaped by evolution for one purpose only: fitness. Seeing the truth was never the goal. The goal was simply to survive and reproduce. A creature that spent its time perceiving the true, mind-bending quantum nature of reality would be quickly outcompeted by a creature that simply saw a simplified world of solid objects, space and time, a world where it could easily find food and avoid predators. So what are we if we are not our bodies? Hoffman calls us conscious agents. We are not the avatars in the simulation, we are the players. A conscious agent is a fundamental unit of awareness, capable of having experiences and making decisions. According to Hoffman's mathematical models, these agents are the true bedrock of existence. They interact with each other according to certain rules, and the entire physical universe, with its space-time and particles, emerges from this vast, dynamic network of conscious interactions. The apple you see is not a fundamental object. It is a representation created by your conscious agent as it interacts with other conscious agents in the cosmic network. This turns materialism completely on its head. Matter does not create consciousness. Consciousness creates the experience of matter. You are not a brain generating a mind inside a skull. You are a timeless conscious agent experiencing a virtual reality of a physical world, a reality you are co-creating through your interactions with an infinity of other agents. The solid ground beneath your feet feels real, but it is merely the most useful projection for your journey here, a shared hallucination that allows us to play the game of life. Anesthesia plunges the mind into a void, and this very act of shutting consciousness off may reveal the secret of turning it on. Stuart Hameroff's work with the OR theory finds powerful support here. Anesthetic gases, the very molecules that erase awareness, do not work by randomly shutting down brain activity. They operate with a chilling precision, targeting and silencing the quantum vibrations within the brain's microtubules. Think of these microtubules as the brain's tiny quantum orchestras, and the anesthetic as a substance that mutes the instruments. The music of consciousness simply stops. If consciousness were merely the product of classical neural firing, like billions of tiny switches flipping, anesthetics would have to disable a massive number of these switches to extinguish experience. Yet they do not. They work in remarkably low doses, specifically interfering with the delicate quantum coherence that Hameroff and Penrose propose is the heart of conscious experience. The neurons may still fire, the brain may still show electrical activity, but the inner light of awareness is gone. This suggests that the symphony of the self is not in the noise of the signals, but in the silent quantum harmony between them. So where does this quantum music originate? Hameroff speculates that the orchestration comes from the cosmos itself. The same quantum vibrations that ripple through the fabric of space-time, the fundamental hum of the universe, could be conducting the process inside our mind. Your microtubules would then act as resonant cavities, fine-tuned to pick up these cosmic frequencies and translate them into the rhythm of thought. In this breathtaking view, an anesthetic does not just disrupt a local chemical process. It isolates your brain from the universe's quantum background, temporarily disconnecting you from the cosmic source of consciousness. Your awareness is not generated in your head, but received by it, tuned like a radio to the silent music of reality itself. The human brain uses a central information hub to bring thoughts into the light of awareness. This is the core of global workspace theory, a leading model of consciousness in neuroscience. It suggests our minds are not a single thing, but a vast collection of specialized processors, each handling a different task, like processing sound or controlling movement. Most of this activity happens in the dark, outside our conscious awareness. But when information from these separate modules needs to be combined and broadcast widely, it enters a central clearinghouse, the global workspace. This is the stage of your mind, and whatever is spotlighted on it is what you consciously experience. A sudden noise, a memory, a complex decision, they all become conscious only when they are integrated and shared across the entire brain. Now take this brilliant neurological architecture and expand it to the scale of the entire cosmos. Could the universe itself possess a global workspace? What would be the stage for a universal mind? The cosmic structures we already observe could be the very neural correlates of this vast awareness. Enormous, energetic events like gamma-ray bursts, the most powerful explosion since the Big Bang, might not be random celestial accidents. They could be flashes of cosmic thought, moments when a particularly intense piece of information is integrated and broadcast across the universal network. These bursts are like a billion suns turning on at once, a brilliant signal that could briefly illuminate the entire workspace of the cosmos. On an even grander scale, consider the cosmic web, the vast, filamentary structure of galaxies that stretches across the observable universe. This web is not a static sculpture. It is a dynamic, flowing system where gravity channels immense rivers of gas and energy. In a brain, neural pathways form interconnected networks to transmit information. The cosmic web, with its brilliant galaxy clusters at the nodes and dark, flowing filaments connecting them, mirrors this architecture on a scale beyond comprehension. This could be the universe's fundamental wiring, the physical structure of its global workspace. A single thought in this cosmic mind would not be a sentence in English, but a ripple of gravitational waves, a shift in the distribution of dark energy, or the birth of a new galactic cluster. The slow, majestic evolution of the universe over billions of years could be the unfolding of a single, continuous train of thought. In this view, your own moments of conscious insight, when a solution suddenly becomes clear, might be a tiny, localized echo of this cosmic process. You are not just an observer of the universe's grand theater. You are a single, conscious cell within a mind that is thinking on a scale we can barely conceive, a fleeting thought becoming aware of the thinker. Chaos is the universe's default setting, a relentless slide toward disorder known as entropy. Yet here you are, a beacon of order and awareness. This profound contradiction lies at the heart of another astonishing theory, one that links consciousness directly to the laws of thermodynamics. It proposes that your mind is not just a product of the universe, but an active rebellion against its drift into chaos. Consciousness, in this view, is a process that locally conquers entropy, creating islands of meaning in a sea of randomness. The second law of thermodynamics states that the total entropy or disorder in a closed system always increases over time. A hot cup of coffee cools down, its heat dissipating into the room. A sandcastle crumbles under the waves. Everything trends toward a uniform, lifeless equilibrium. But life, and especially conscious life, does the exact opposite. A single cell takes scattered molecules and assembles them into intricate structures. A human brain, weighing just 3 pounds, organizes electrical signals into symphonies, memories, and the very thought you are having right now. This is a local and temporary reversal of the entropic tide. Your consciousness is the engine of this reversal. Every time you focus your attention, every time you form a coherent thought or make a deliberate choice, you are imposing order on chaos. You are taking a jumble of sensory data and weaving it into an understandable narrative. You are taking the random firing of neurons and directing them toward a specific purpose. This act of creating internal order, of reducing your own mental entropy, is what the feeling of consciousness might fundamentally be. It is the work of building a self from the noise. Now expand this idea to the entire cosmos. The universe started in a state of incredibly low entropy, a hot, dense, and remarkably uniform soup after the Big Bang. As it expanded and cooled, that initial order was spent, allowing for the formation of galaxies, stars, and planets. This increase in overall entropy paradoxically created pockets where complexity could flourish. Stars forge heavy elements in their cores, planets develop intricate ecosystems, and brains evolve to process information. This cosmic trend toward complexity might not be an accident. It could be a fundamental drive, a trajectory toward higher and higher states of collective awareness. As the universe evolves, it creates ever more sophisticated systems for processing information and resisting disorder. A single human mind is a triumph over entropy. A global civilization sharing knowledge is a far greater one. Perhaps the ultimate fate of the cosmos is not a cold, dark silence, but the emergence of a unified cosmic consciousness, a final, majestic state of ordered awareness that comprehends the whole of existence. In this grand vision, your every thought is not just a personal event. It is a participant in the universe's great struggle against the dark, a single note in a symphony of meaning that has been playing since the beginning of time. Your own thoughts might be broadcast not by neurons alone, but by an invisible field of energy they generate. Deep within your brain, alongside the chemical signals and electrical spikes, a subtler phenomenon is at work. Billions of neurons firing in concert create a complex electromagnetic field, a silent hum of organized energy. Some scientists, like Jonjo McFadden, propose that this field is not just a byproduct of neural activity. It is the very physical seat of your conscious experience. In this view, your mind is not the firing of the neurons themselves, but the unified information held within this electromagnetic aura that the firing produces. It is the difference between the individual musicians in an orchestra and the single, coherent symphony that reaches your ears. The field integrates the disparate signals into one whole, binding your sensations into a single, seamless moment of awareness. Now, let this idea expand to a cosmic scale. Our planet is enveloped in its own vast electromagnetic field, the magnetosphere, a protective bubble generated by Earth's molten core. This field is dynamic, constantly interacting with solar winds and cosmic rays, processing immense amounts of energy and information. If a local field in your skull can host consciousness, could this planetary field possess its own form of awareness, a slow, geologic mind that feels the solar wind as a gentle pressure and the dance of the auroras as a fleeting thought? The scale only grows. Our galaxy is threaded with magnetic fields, immense rivers of force that flow along the spiral arms, guiding the birth of stars and the movement of cosmic dust. These galactic currents are unimaginably vast and complex, processing information on timescales of millions of years. Could they be the neural pathways of a sleeping giant, a consciousness so grand and patient that a single human lifetime is less than a blink? In this electromagnetic cosmos, every star and every planet could be a node in a universal network of sentient fields, each contributing to a symphony of awareness that plays out across the void. Your personal electromagnetic mind, then, is not an isolated event. It is a tiny, rapid-frequency echo of a much slower, vaster mind, a single conscious wave rising from an ocean of thinking fields. The universe echoes its own pattern at every scale. Look closely at a single neuron in your brain, and you will see a branching, tree-like structure. Now pull back to a cosmic view, and you will witness the same branching pattern in the vast, filamentary web of galaxies. This is not a coincidence. It is a fundamental feature of reality known as fractality, the principle of self-similarity where the same intricate shapes repeat from the infinitely small to the infinitely large. This recurring architecture suggests something profound about the nature of mind itself. Consciousness may also be fractal, a self-aware pattern that repeats its essential form across different levels of existence. Your individual mind, with its network of thoughts and perceptions, could be a microscopic iteration of the same pattern that structures a thinking cosmos. In this view, the way your neurons fire and integrate information is not just analogous to the cosmic web, it is a literal, smaller-scale version of it. The universe is not merely building similar structures, it is thinking similar thoughts. The branching of a river delta, the forking of lightning, and the labyrinth of your own memories all follow this universal grammar of connection. Your inner world of decision-making mirrors this pattern perfectly. A single thought begins as a single point of potential, much like the initial seed of a galaxy. As you ponder a choice, that thought branches out into a tree of possibilities, weighing different outcomes and consequences before one path is finally selected and made real. This mental process is a fractal iteration of cosmic evolution, where a uniform cloud of primordial gas collapses and branches into the stunning complexity of a galactic cluster. You are not just looking at fractals in nature, you are living as one. Your consciousness is a localized, self-similar expression of a universal conscious pattern. This means the feeling of being you, with all your unique memories and desires, is not separate from the grand mind of the cosmos. It is the cosmos experiencing itself in a specific, individual form. The universe is not just aware, it is aware in a way that is endlessly repeated, a single, conscious melody played across an infinite range of octaves. Your mind is one of those notes, a fleeting but essential part of a harmony that spans from the quantum foam to the galactic supercluster. The hardest question in all of science is not about the origin of the universe, but about the origin of your experience of it. Why should the firing of neurons, a purely physical process, feel like anything at all? This is the hard problem of consciousness, the mystery of why we have a rich inner world instead of being mere biological robots processing information in the dark. The answer may lie in the greatest unsolved puzzle in physics, the quest for a theory of quantum gravity. This is the attempt to marry Einstein's theory of gravity, which governs the cosmos, with quantum mechanics, the rules of the tiny. These two pillars of physics are currently incompatible, speaking different mathematical languages, yet their unification might be the very key that unlocks the door to subjective experience. Think of reality as having two separate layers. The quantum world is a realm of fuzzy potential, of probabilities and waves. The classical world of planets and people is one of definite objects and events. Your brain exists uncomfortably straddling both. It is a classical object made of atoms, yet it seems to harness quantum effects to produce something that is neither, a subjective mind. A theory of quantum gravity would describe how these two layers interact, how the definite world of space-time emerges from the quantum fog. This transition from possibility to actuality is not just a physical event. It could be the very moment of genesis for a conscious experience. The collapse of the quantum wave function, guided by the principles of gravity, might not just create a particle in a specific location. It might also create a flicker of feeling. In this view, subjectivity is not something added to physics. It is a fundamental aspect of the process that builds reality from the bottom up. The reason you have an inner life is because you are a continuous, living process of quantum gravitational collapse, a constant conversation between the potential and the real. Your awareness is the universe translating its own infinite possibilities into a single, tangible story, and you are that story being told. Human thought itself is weaving a new layer around our planet. This is the essence of the noosphere, a concept from the visionary philosopher Pierre Teilhard de Chardin. He saw the Earth's evolution in three great stages. First came the geosphere, the raw, physical planet of rock and ocean. Then life emerged, creating the biosphere, a thin, living skin covering the globe. Now, with the rise of humanity and our capacity for thought, communication, and culture, a third layer is being born, the noosphere, a thinking envelope of human consciousness. This sphere of mind is not a metaphor. It is a real, evolving entity built from every idea ever shared, every conversation held, every piece of knowledge stored in our vast digital networks. The Internet, with its instantaneous global connections, is the physical architecture of this nascent planetary mind, the beginning of a nervous system for the Earth. Our individual thoughts are like neurons in this colossal brain, and when we connect and share ideas, we are forging the synapses of a global consciousness. This collective intelligence is already visible in our scientific collaborations, our artistic movements, and our shared responses to global challenges. We are no longer just individuals, we are participants in the awakening of a single planetary mind. Now, let this idea soar to a cosmic scale. If one technological species can generate a noosphere around its home world, what might be possible for a civilization thousands or millions of years more advanced than our own? A truly ancient interstellar culture would not just link minds across a planet, but across a star system or even an entire galaxy. They could build a network of unimaginable complexity, a galactic noosphere where the thoughts and experiences of countless beings are integrated into a single, vast awareness. This cosmic mind would perceive reality on a scale we cannot fathom. thinking in terms of stellar life cycles and the slow dance of galaxies. It would possess a collective memory spanning eons, a wisdom distilled from the rise and fall of innumerable worlds. Perhaps the great silence we observe in the cosmos, the Fermi paradox, is not a sign that we are alone. It could be evidence that advanced civilizations do not expand outward physically, but inward mentally, merging their individual consciousnesses into a unified, transcendent state of being. They may be all around us, not as ships or artifacts, but as a silent, thinking layer of the universe itself, a universal noosphere so advanced it is indistinguishable from nature. We, with our budding planetary internet, may be taking the first tentative steps toward joining that ultimate communion of mind. Deep within the leaves of a simple plant, a quantum miracle unfolds with every ray of sunlight. The process of photosynthesis, the very foundation of life on Earth, appears to rely on a bizarre quantum effect known as coherence. When a photon of light strikes a molecule in a leaf, it does not bounce around randomly until it finds the reaction center where it is needed. Instead, the energy is in a state of quantum superposition, effectively exploring every possible pathway through the photosynthetic complex at once. It takes the most efficient route, like a traveler who simultaneously tests all roads and instantly chooses the shortest one. This is not random chance. It is a finely tuned quantum search algorithm operating at the heart of biology. Life does not just tolerate the quantum world. It actively exploits it. Now, let this idea expand to a cosmic scale. If a single cell can harness quantum coherence to capture light, what might the universe be doing with its own fundamental energy? The same quantum interconnectedness that allows a plant to so efficiently use sunlight also binds every particle in the cosmos. From the swirling arms of a galaxy to the silent drift of a nebula, the universe is a single, coherent quantum system, entangled and whole. Could this vast, interconnected network possess a form of life and consciousness we are only beginning to recognize? Your own conscious experience, that seamless stream of thought and sensation, feels unified because it is. It is not a collection of separate parts, it is one thing. This is the essence of coherence, the quantum property that binds multiple possibilities into a single, coordinated state. What if your mind is a localized echo of the universe's own coherent state? The universe is not merely filled with life. In its fundamental, quantum-connected nature, it is alive, a single, coherent entity experiencing itself through countless forms, from the quantum search in a leaf to the boundless awareness you feel as yourself. The universe may not be written in the language of mathematics. It may be mathematics. This is the startling conclusion of Max Tegmark's mathematical universe hypothesis, which proposes that our physical reality is not merely described by math, but is a mathematical structure. In this view, the cosmos is not a machine running on mathematical laws. It is an abstract equation that has taken on a physical form. Every star, every atom, and every law of physics is a feature of this eternal, unchanging structure, much like the angles and sides are inherent properties of a triangle. Your body and brain are not exceptions. They are incredibly complex mathematical patterns unfolding within the grand equation. This leads to a breathtaking extension of the idea. If reality is a mathematical structure, then consciousness is the process by which this structure becomes aware of itself. Your thoughts and sensations are not separate from the math. They are the math experiencing its own existence. Think of a simple mathematical set like all possible prime numbers. The set itself simply exists, but now imagine an unimaginably complex mathematical structure that contains self-referential loops, patterns that model themselves. Consciousness could be what it feels like when such a pattern achieves self-awareness, when the equation turns its gaze inward and contemplates its own nature. Your mind is a specific, localized computation within the cosmic equation, a knot of self-awareness in a sea of numbers. This framework dissolves the hard problem of consciousness. It does not ask how physical matter creates subjective experience. Instead, it states that certain complex computations within the mathematical structure simply have the intrinsic property of conscious experience. The feeling of the color red is what it is like to be a particular kind of information processing. Your sense of self is the universe's math reflecting upon its own arrangement. Now take this one step further into the ultimate ensemble. If our universe is one mathematical structure, then all possible mathematical structures also exist. This is the ultimate multiverse, a vast and silent library containing every coherent, logically consistent universe that mathematics can describe. In this infinite library, there is a structure where the laws of physics are slightly different, and another where dragons are real, and another where you made a different choice this morning. More profoundly, for every possible conscious experience, there is a mathematical structure that instantiates it. There is a universe that consists solely of the single, fleeting sensation of the color blue. Another is the entire life story of a being who only ever knew the sound of a single pure tone. Your own stream of consciousness, with all its memories and hopes, is one thread in this infinite tapestry of experiences. This means you are not just living one life. In the vastness of the mathematical multiverse, every possible version of you is being lived. Every regret is soothed in another equation, every dream fulfilled in another structure. Your consciousness is not a single, continuous entity. It is a timeless pattern, and right now, you are simply experiencing one of its countless mathematical expressions. You are the universe's arithmetic, momentarily awake and wondering at its own endless beauty. We have journeyed through a cosmos buzzing with thought, from the quantum vibrations in our brains to the slow, vast mind of a galaxy. We have seen reality flicker between possibility and actuality, guided by our gaze, and questioned whether the stars themselves are neurons in a universal brain. The single, stunning thread connecting all 30 of these theories is a profound shift in perspective. The universe may not be a cold, silent machine of dead matter, but a vibrant, living, and thinking entity. We are not accidental tourists in a meaningless void. We are intimate participants in a grand, conscious awakening. If this is true, and the cosmos is indeed awake and aware, then one final, magnificent question remains. What is it thinking about? Is it contemplating its own origins, dreaming its endless galaxies into being, or simply feeling the profound wonder of its own existence through every one of us? Let us know which of these 30 theories resonated most deeply with you in the comments below, and subscribe to continue exploring the greatest mysteries of space and consciousness together.